Awesome. All right. Well, it's 12 o'clock, so we're going to get started here. I'm sure we might have a few more join, but thank you for joining us. My name is Jessie Serby Ortiz. I'm the Managing Director of the Sustainable Business Council. And today we're excited to partner with Dane County Waste and Renewables to talk about their sustainability campus and composting updates. So welcome to this info session. I'm going to just get started by introducing myself and the Sustainable Business Council before we hand it over to the county's team. So Wyatt, if you want to, thank you. All right, so if you're not familiar with the Sustainable Business Council, we've been around for about 16 years. We help businesses with sustainability. We really are here for all businesses, regardless of size or sector. Or location. We recently just became our own nonprofit as of January 1st this year. So it's kind of an exciting new journey for us. But our mission is very much the same, and that is to accelerate the adoption of sustainability by integrating it into business strategy and operations, driving long-term impact. If you want to go to the next slide, please. We mostly do this through education, through measuring and improving business systems and connecting sustainability professionals or those working on sustainability across the state. And we really have two core focuses. One is accelerating the integration of sustainable business and then building sustainability leaders. Next slide, please. And so a little bit more about our membership and what that is a way for businesses or individuals to sort of become a part of this community. We offer a lot of education, information sessions, working groups, sessions like this. We also host an annual conference. Then we have a tool called the Green Masters Program, which allows businesses to measure and improve and define their sustainability. It's a certification mark as well. We also have a game called Cool Choices, which is a gamification of sustainability, and we play as a membership group each April for Earth Month. So that's coming up and exciting. We also showcase what our businesses are doing around the community, both through membership, through our webinars, through our conference, as well as our annual Sustainable Business Awards. So we have a few upcoming events I just wanted to share with you. Actually, next Thursday, I'll be at the Renewable Energy Summit in Madison. So if you're there or you plan on attending, please stop by our booth and say hello. The following day on Friday, we do kind of like every other month, we do an open Q&A with sustainability leaders. So that's with myself and our Associate Director, Krista Kananen. It's kind of just an open forum to get your sustainability questions answered. Our February webinar is on how to build a strategy that fits your firm. That's happening on February 20th. We have a greenhouse gas working group that meets quarterly. That'll happen in March. And then I think this is our 7th annual Women in Sustainability Leadership event that's happening in Milwaukee to celebrate International Women's Day. So you can find all this and more at our calendar. I'll go ahead and drop that link in the chat. And if you're not currently a member, of course, we invite you to join us as a member and to improve your sustainability outcomes. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Wyatt, who's going to kick off this info session today. So thanks for being here.
Great. Thanks, Jessie. Yeah, and hey, and thanks for joining everyone. My name is Wyatt Augustine Marcil. I'm the Sustainability Engagement Coordinator here for the Dane County Department of Waste and Renewables, joined by Delaney Gobster, who's our Business Development and Outreach Coordinator, and Alex Thomas, who works as our Carbon Offset Manager. Just want to say thanks to the Sustainable Business Council for hosting us. And we're really excited to share about a couple of things that we've got going on here at the department and to have a good Q&A at the end with some of the folks on the call. So what we're going to talk about are two main topics. We've got lots of things going on. These are two that we wanted to bring to this discussion. One, focusing on the development of the Sustainability Campus, kind of what that project is, where things stand in our open request for information process, which is a really exciting moment for interested organizations who might want to be a part of that project. And then we'll also talk about our food scrap composting efforts right now, where that effort came from, where it is now, how you might be able to get involved with that as well. And then we'll have some time at the end for Q&A, so feel free to drop questions in the chat now or throughout. And at the end, if you'd like to ask questions vocally, verbally, feel free to raise your hand and we can unmute you then in the Q&A session. All right. So I think most of us are probably familiar with Dane County, but just a refresher, we are located in South Central Wisconsin. There's a lot of people that live here and the county is growing really quickly. And so there's a lot of demand on our waste infrastructure and our waste systems. And then we've got a lot of other good things going on here. Obviously, the city of Madison's here. It's a state capital, University of Wisconsin. So there's a lot of great infrastructure and activity happening here that we tap into now, and we'll continue to do so into the future. Yeah, if you're from the area, if you're from Wisconsin, you know we're in kind of a good strategic location. There's a lot of economic activity, material exchanging between a lot of these big cities, and we're just in a really great location for taking on big projects. We're located mostly on the southeast side of Madison. That's where the majority of our current operations are. Within a stone's throw, a lot of the stuff happening in downtown, including the airport, I-90 and I-94, with access to Chicago and to Milwaukee. So kind of a strategic location as well. And then to talk about kind of what the department is doing in the past and into the future. So right now we're about 45 people working across different functions. We operate as what's called an enterprise fund, which is really kind of an important point for how we operate. It means that we are not tied to the typical budget process as some other government departments might be. All of the fees that we charge for the services we offer cover our operations. And so we actually generate a surplus from our operations, and a lot of that goes back into the county's operating budget. So that point lets us take on some big, large-scale waste diversion, education outreach type projects. We've got a history of public-private partnerships. We can talk more about that. And we operate the only municipal solid waste landfill in the county, which is an important point that we'll get back to. And we do a lot of education outreach, so things like this, but also getting out to the community, going to schools, hosting tours, things like that. We see that's a great avenue to diverting waste to the future. A little bit about our services now. So we operate that landfill. We also do a lot of recycling programs. We operate this large-scale construction and demolition recycling facility. We also operate the county's Clean Sweep program, which accepts household hazardous waste and electronics. And then we have a renewable natural gas plant, which pulls the landfill gas out of the capped landfill, turns that into compressed natural gas, and injects into a pipeline for use as renewable energy. So this all adds up. Every year we produce roughly 2.8 million gallons of gasoline equivalent of RNG from that landfill gas. We recycle a ton of materials, so about 62,000 tons go through that C&D facility, about 15,000 tons of asphalt shingles, 650 tons of tires, and we gross a revenue about $30 million. So we're really doing a lot of activities. And just a little further breakdown on those. I won't go too far into detail. But just to back up and talk about that enterprise fund portion, because this is what really enables us to take on projects like the sustainability campus, like the renewable natural gas plant, like the C&D facility. Because we are able to support our own operations, we have some more flexibility in taking on those large-scale capital-intensive type projects. And so just to talk a little bit more about those and what some future projects might look like with the county, with the department, and especially at the sustainability campus. The C&D building is a good example because we own the building and the infrastructure. We invested about $15 million to develop it, but it's operated by a private third party. And so this could be a model it's really worked for us so far and might be a model that we continue into the future as we continue to look for different ways to divert materials from the landfill. The renewable natural gas plant is another great example of how we can use our enterprise fund status to invest into large-scale projects. This was the first of its kind in the state of Wisconsin. about a $30 million project, and it's paid for itself already. It also includes a biogas offload station, so you can see that kind of located in the top left portion of the picture. It's a first of its kind development in the US, and it allows anaerobic digesters to integrate or to connect to our pipeline interconnect, and really enables Wisconsin dairy farmers to be able to divert their manure into renewable energy. And then, like I said, we do a ton of education outreach. Some of you might be familiar with the Trash Lab. It's a 30-foot trailer designed for us by the Madison Children's Museum to be able to take around the county to talk about trash, to talk about reducing, reusing, recycling, and get into those upstream solutions rather than diversion at the end of a material's life. So we do a ton of events with that, and we also host a bunch of site tours. We've got a tour bus powered by the compressed natural gas that we produce on site. And in between those different activities, we reached almost 7,000 people last year and want to continue doing more of that. We also do some reuse on site. We've got a bicycle exchange program and a clean sweep product exchange room. So things like paint that are not used up all the way, but get sent to a clean sweep can be recirculated for reuse. Okay, to the sustainability campus, looking forward and what some partnership possibilities might look like in the RFI process. So the reason this is happening, the reason we're developing the Sustainability Campus project is because, like I mentioned, we operate the only municipal solid waste landfill in the county, and it is nearing completion. So in the next handful of years, it'll reach capacity, it'll need to be capped and closed. And because we won't get to zero waste within the next 5 years, we have to develop a new landfill. And so we are developing a new landfill on land that we purchased from the city of Madison. It's just south of our current operations. So the Rodefeld campus is our current operations. Our future operations are just to the south. So it's really well located for us to be able to continue our current service offerings and then expand them. And that's where the Sustainability Campus really comes in. Because we need to develop this whole infrastructure project to develop a new landfill, develop the support operations. We have the space, the timing, and the capacity to develop what we're calling the Sustainability Campus to be able to co-locate and attract as many diversion, reuse, and educational entities as possible to be able to help us divert as much material from the landfill and educate the public and create valuable products from the things that come to us instead of going to the landfill. So that's in essence where the Sustainability Campus project came from. And then we can look forward into what we're starting to do with this project. So here's a fairly early site plan of what that campus area might look like. And this is the space that we want to attract project partners and different entities to be able to help flesh it out and divert waste, like I said. So we are just about to start our first phase of development in which we'll build out the maintenance shop, our staff and education center. So all of our offices will be there, but there'll also be space for maker spaces, community space, event space, and then the landfill scale house. So those things are all being developed. We're expecting to break ground in the next year. So this project is full steam ahead. But then we have also a ton of space that is not currently allocated. And this is what we want to use to be able to bring in businesses and entities to flesh out this space to divert waste. So we've got a ton of space. There could be space within the staff and education center, could develop new facilities, pull materials that we already collect for diversion, reuse, or recycling elsewhere. There's really a lot of opportunity. And that's really where the RFIs come in. So the requests for information, or RFIs, are our call to businesses locally and around the country to basically share ideas and interest for us to assess viability and alignment with our goals in diverting waste, educating the public, and creating jobs to allow us to prioritize that first phase of development and who ends up being tenants or operating on the campus with us. So it's split up into 4 different calls so that we can kind of evaluate like by like. So we've got large scale waste diversion, processing, and recycling entities, reuse, retail, and upcycling, problem materials, bulky waste, and emerging materials, and then research, education, and art. And so these are 4 different categories. These calls are open and available, and we're looking for responses to each of these now. And we really would love to hear ideas that you might have for the campus. The RFIs are really meant to be kind of a streamlined process rather than a really intensive RFP process, which can be a big ask for organizations. And it's kind of meant to be this low investment of time for us to hear from you, from interested organizations who might be interested in establishing operations. So again, it's meant to be really streamlined. It's meant to be pretty simple to respond to, and I'll walk through a little bit of that shortly. Just really quickly, there's a lot of different forms of partnerships that we could envision happening with the department on the campus or elsewise. And so I just want to walk through a couple of them. I think this is not all inclusive, but just to kind of cover some of the different business relationships or collaborations we could envision. So the first is if there's a material that comes to our site and is not currently being diverted, and you feel like you can work with it, we can put out a receptacle and collect it, and you can take that material and make new products, make new materials, and divert that material. This is something that we've had really great success with those tire and shingle recycling programs, especially where we put out a bunker for shingles. And over the past 10 years, it's grown to about 15,000 tons of shingles that our customers come and separate themselves. So this is something that we feel could be really viable starting as soon as now. Obviously, we'd have to go through the process to set that up, but this is something we could establish on our current site and into the future. We could also envision, because we're building these first handful of buildings, we're making additional space in some of them, especially the admin and education building. So that could look like leasing an office space or taking some workshop space, operating a makerspace, repair classes, educational opportunities, and things like that in a building that we will certainly be constructing. We're trying to make space for these kind of collaborations in this building. Could also be something as like building different sculptures or creating art from waste around the campus, just to demonstrate ways that waste is not waste until you waste it. And so here's a couple examples. So if you've got kind of a commission that you'd like to share or some proposals, we'd love to see them. Similarly, taking space or using space in a building that will be constructed, there could be small scale research activities focused on materials that aren't diverted or creating new products from wasted materials, things like that. Again, just another thing that we're kind of open to hearing what ideas might be out there. Could also develop an exhibit to show the potential of materials, to talk about waste, to talk about diversion. Trash Lab has been extremely popular and successful, and we'd love to integrate some things like this into the new campus, especially the Waste Education Center or that admin building that I've been talking about. And then because we have all this space, we're really open to developing new facilities in a variety of different partnership forms. That could be us building a building and someone else operating it. It could be leasing land, kind of anything between. It could be a repair space, a reuse processing space, a retail space, a large-scale waste diversion operation, really kind of whatever. But obviously, this is where we need to prioritize kind of our space and the potential of the entity. But this is something that we're fully intent on doing. And so if you need space, we're really open to doing that. And then just to kind of point this out further into the future, as we move our operations from our current site to the new site, we're going to have a handful of buildings that will need a future use and that we want to put to work to divert materials. So we've got what's currently the Clean Sweep building and the Scale House, which will be used for the next handful of years until we move those operations off site. And then right now, what we refer to as the old generator building on the bottom left of the screen, that's just used for storage. So if you have an idea that is more immediate and it needs some space, we're certainly open to hearing that because right now that building is underutilized, but has a lot of potential. And I'll kind of wrap up here looking at our project milestones. Like I said, we have acquired that land. We've rezoned it industrial general, so it allows for a wide variety of this kind of use. We've developed covenants to help us guide our decision making on what kind of tenants and operations happening there. And we are moving into the design of the first phase of buildings. So that's actually happening in the next couple of weeks. So, like I said, full steam ahead, looking to break ground in the next 12 months. And then looking toward sustainability campus tenants. So this is more if there's going to be a new facility. The RFIs are really our key to issuing future RFPs for tenancy on campus. So just to stress that the RFIs aren't coming to us and we're going to put them on a shelf. They're really a key portion of the development of this project. And will help us prioritize and help us guide decision making in the future. So if you've got ideas, we certainly want to hear from you and through the RFIs. I'll just quickly talk about that process, and then I'll pass it over to Delaney to talk organics composting. Like I said, they are open now. They're open for 2 months until March 21st. Responses must be submitted through our online procurement platform. It's called OpenGov. If you're not familiar with that, you'll need to make an account. And then the way we've set up the submission method is through what's called a vendor questionnaire. It's kind of set up as a survey to tell us a little bit about your ideas, your operations, any space needs, that kind of thing. And again, it's intended to be fairly straightforward, fairly streamlined. You're also, of course, able to upload supporting documents. So if you've got case studies or presentations that you want to share with us, we'd love to see them. And there's a place to do that as well on OpenGov. And if you want to come out and see the site, see the buildings we just talked about, see what is now currently a golf course, but will in the future be the sustainability campus, we'll be having a site tour February 11th at 12 for interested vendors and partners. I'll share the link to the links for all of the different RFIs on our site, but feel free to click around and let us know if you've got any questions. This is just pointing to the attachments that are listed on that OpenGov site. These are just good background documents that have helped us get to where we are. A snapshot of what that survey or vendor questionnaire looks like. So again, streamlined, hopefully. And then the next steps, the closing in a couple months, we'll review those RFIs, and then kind of depending on what the ask is or the partnership opportunity is, we could move really quickly into RFPs or contracts or agreements shortly after that, or if it's a larger scale development, probably looking somewhere closer to fall, but then looking at operations in 2027, 2028. All right, so that's the Sustainability Campus and RFI update. If you've got questions, drop them in the chat. I've been seeing some come through, and we'll be happy to answer more questions once we get to Q&A. So I'll pass it over to Delaney now.
All right. Let me know if anyone has issues hearing me, and we'll resolve those right off the bat. I'm Delaney. Thank you for introducing me earlier, Wyeth, and I will be talking to you about food scrap composting today. I do want to preface, we have a broader organics recycling program with a few factors that we won't be talking through in depth today, but I'm also putting in the chat our link to our general website for any future updates. This will be on the landing page that I'll be updating on for those. So getting into why I did a bit of background on our department, our needs for the sustainability campus and planning going forward, but some background on our organics recycling background specifically. So the county has done yard waste composting in the past due to size limitations and us now expanding across the street. We did have to end that composting program. However, we're still operating our brush and log mulch program. That's not the focus today. However, in 2020, we did participate in a Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources study showing that organics were the largest waste stream that we were receiving at the Roosevelt landfill, really giving us a call to action to develop an organics recycling program. And if you look a little deeper at some of these statistics here, it really is that wasted food and non-edible food and yard waste that are the biggest factors of this organics portion going into the landfill. So starting in just this past fall and late summer, we entered into a public-private partnership with Purple Cow, and that will be 5-year term for now, opportunity to extend, and also opportunity for us to explore additional organics recycling streams in the future as well. So I'll talk a little bit more on the Purple Cow relationship in a second. That does go a bit into yard waste as well, manure as well, but the focus is here for food scraps composting. Our goals for the first year of landfill diversion are to get, as the slide says, 1.2 million pounds of food waste diverted from the landfill and into composting at Purple Cow, as well as around 20,000 tons of leaf waste and yard waste for composting as well. So with our partnership, we helped Purple Cow invest in some new infrastructure to really amp up their ability to accept food waste. They are a very well-known and a developed composter in the area. However, they do have a very strong yard waste history. So this program is really helping us at the county coordinate their incoming food scraps material stream. So coordinating the feedstocks, working with a lot of stakeholders to reduce contamination, develop outreach and education materials for them, and pretty much get carve out space and time for Purple Cow to do what they do best, which is composting, and let us kind of take that heavy lift in the coordination. Go to the next slide. So for a bit more background at the Purple Cow site for food scrap composting, since it does influence how we operate our collections and coordination for the program. So different restaurants, food service providers, whoever is the food scrap generator collects all of the accepted materials at their site. And then we either personally, with our small limited capacity hauling, which I'll talk on a bit more in the future slides, we'll do hauling or we'll help connect restaurants with their current haulers and help them kind of get that transportation piece in place. Once at Purple Cow, the food scraps are tipped onto a bed of carbon materials to get a good carbon to nitrogen ratio. They're then put into these concrete bunkers, which as mentioned on the previous slide, these were the infrastructure investments that we assisted Purple Cow with, kind of to Wyatt's end of what a potential public-private partnership for different materials at the sustainability campus could look like. We helped them invest in this bunker and loader system to make their site able to accept food scraps, and so kind of helping that partnership move forward. Then the materials after preconditioning are windrowed to finish the compost process, and then once finished composting, all of the materials screened to remove large particles, and then sold as a soil amendment. So that kind of gets a little bit to our contamination piece there, is that if there are larger materials, they will be removed at the end of the process there. Go ahead. So towards our commercial food scrap pickup program, I'll mention a bit more towards our residential program after these slides, but we will be working, me specifically, working with local businesses, food service entities, a lot of municipal facilities as well, towards the manure and yard waste, and coordinating their pickup and drop off to Purple Cow. So like I had mentioned, this could entail anything from us hauling to working with existing hauler relationships and really building that transportation piece that we need locally. If hauled with us, we'll provide all of the collection materials from curbside collection carts, any pest or honestly human proofing for bystander contamination reasons, locks, cords to make sure everything is safely tied up, and then additional collection buckets. We have been partnering with some local organizations to collect their used buckets. So we are both accepting used anywhere from 1 to 6 gallon buckets from local food service entities to help either support our residential program or commercial program as well. And then we distribute those out as needed for free. Additional notes on the commercial food pickup program. So like I had mentioned, for 2025 specifically, we'll be doing a lot more of that commercial hauling to make sure that there is all of the logistics are planned out and kind of work with haulers who don't already have a food scrap collection service to carve out what that market and that service looks like for them. We do offer a few flexible options. So we are working through some commercial credit sharing options. So if you are a business with multiple locations or you do a referral to your neighboring business, we can also offer some discount services there. Or if you're a food pantry who has their own hauling abilities at a small scale, if you do want to just drop off yourselves, there are options for that as well to help cut costs on the food scrap generator end. If hauling with us and interested, you're able to opt in on some additional sustainability program options. So that includes a 3-month waste audit. If you have applicable resources, connection to food recovery and donation resources, as well as we're partnering with a few nonprofits locally who are doing broader sustainability work. One specifically doing a Dane County food plan, the first of its kind in the county. And so are partnering with those organizations to develop some research of broader county needs for waste diversion and infrastructure. So additional options there. Towards the residential end, so even though this is potentially a more business-focused audience, if you are within the county limits, you will, as a resident, also have access to a few free drop-off points. So this program will launch in summer 2025. The commercial program is already launched. That began at a small scale at fall 2024 and is now expanding into 2025 with all of our materials and really full tonnage for commercial, but for residential. That will launch, we're anticipating early June at this point for the kiosk drop-off points, actually officially now named the Scrap Stops. So that's in partnership with the Madison Children's Museum. They're working with us for the physical construction and design of these drop-off points, as well as our branding and outreach materials. On the right here, we have a little the top image is a little mock-up that the Children's Museum has done of what the Scrap Stop will look like. It doesn't have, obviously, the finished design input into there, but it to the bottom of that is another regional example. So that's Rust Belt Riders program, some inspiration of what the stops will look like long-term. This is a USDA grant-funded program as well. So that's influencing our timeline here. And we have been, I'll show a map on the next slide, but working with our 5 designated sites for 2025, working with those stakeholders to get their feedback and input, what would make this program expandable into the future, most viable at an operational point, and what would their residents be interested in. So I'll get to mentioning those municipalities and those locations in the next slide. But after this first grant-funded year, summer 2025 to summer 2026. Those will all be free services for municipalities. And then during winter 2026, we'll be partnering with those municipalities and evaluating the program potential and feasibility for expansion and what those potential expanded programs will look like. But future locations for the stops will all be assessed based on municipal interest, what a countywide distribution would be in terms of making sure areas with population density, high population density have enough, but that we have equitably spaced throughout the county, and where are routes where community members can physically access them if they are limited to bus routes or bike routes, et cetera. Go to the next one. So in terms of locations, these don't have specified addresses on this map yet because we're still going through a few steps with each host location just to make sure their city council has final approval, et cetera. So just on materials, we don't have the addresses listed, but this in, I guess I'll do order from north to south. So for the city of Madison, we'll have a Warner Park location, Middleton, most likely in a city hall, near their city hall parking lot. Further south in the second Madison location, we'll be at the Henry Vilas Zoo, so a county site, but within the city of Madison. And then we actually have 2 to the east here that are fairly close together. One of those is actually our site. So that is, we'll have a food scrap drop off at our site already, but we will have a formal scrap stop kiosk nearby in the McFarland Public Works area. So their Public Works building in that lot next to them. And then the furthest south would be in the Verona area, and that will be at the Badger Prairie Needs Network Pantry. All right, next. So this is geared towards our residential materials. I'll have an abbreviated slide next for the commercial materials that we'll be accepting. But for this residential program, we'll be doing a bit of a pared down acceptance just at the very least for the first year until we can see what pest pressures look like, what community education needs there are, really to make sure that this program takes off and is successful into the future, and then to expand into the additional food items that our composter can technically take, but just to kind of bridge the gap between what the community would give and what they would interpret, and what our composter can take. So that's why there's a few limited items. Again, this is free drop-off for county residents with additional potential sites to expand after 2025. You know, the next one. So for commercial groups, really all food items are accepted. The residential version is somewhat of a, if you think of a plant-based or vegan diet, it's towards those items to reduce pest pressures, but anything can be accepted from the commercial end, with the thought being that we are working very directly with these staff members and owners of these buildings and can eliminate contamination a lot easier than at a pretty anonymous drop-off site that's publicly open to all residents. So additionally included, besides food items, we are accepting food soiled papers and coffee filters from commercial businesses. We're accepting tea bags on a case-by-case basis just because there's a lot higher potential for those to contain plastic. But other than that, we are testing food service compostable food service materials with the potential for bags and liners to take priority just for bin sanitation reasons, ease of operations. But that is more on if it tests and doesn't result in significant contaminations at our Purple Cow composter is the background behind there. So we are working with some restaurants who are interested. And so we'll provide updates to related businesses for this program as they're available. But since, as I had previously mentioned, the compost processor that we're working with now has a strong yard waste history, and these are new materials, we just want to ensure that anything that's certified compostable or BPI accepted can make its way through this system successfully, getting composted and both composted successfully, as well as not just screened out at the end. We could take them, but that's also pretty much just making sure your compostables get landfilled, which isn't quite the goal in the end. Yeah, I can move to the next one. So beyond the services that we directly provide for food scrap pickups for the Scrap Stop residential program, we're also, bottom line, as the county group that is organizing organics recycling regionally, we are very interested in any programs that we can provide support to that does upstream food recovery, anything that's related to landfill diversion of organic materials. Essentially, we have a mini grant program that is called the Organics Management Grant, or OMG for short, as I think was on our earlier slide. So this, again, is for community composters, for food recovery organizations. If I also will put in the chat now, this is our direct webpage. So it's a slightly different webpage than the one I put recently for our services. This is for pretty much any resources that are in the community that we support, as well as our Organic Management Grant, a different webpage. So that's in the chat now. You can look up some previous examples, our previous grant application, as well, for more material or for more language on what activities qualify and what organizations qualify. But bottom line, if you can provide tonnages of materials that you divert from the landfill that are related to organics, your program would qualify for these funds. And generally, it's a $10,000 annual grant pool with a maximum application amount of allocated $2,500. And so timeline. And then next on our plate, related to our 2025 Organics Management Grant Cycle, we will be releasing the application for it to go live on March 1st, with the application deadline then on April 4th, with awardees announced on Earth Day this year, so that is April 22nd. And then after the Earth Day awardees are announced, we'll go into the grant contract development, following which will be the project execution period. That will essentially wrap up at the end of the calendar year, with reporting due the 1st of December. And I think that is all I have for you. All right, I'll switch over to Wyeth to facilitate the Q&A now.
Cool. Thanks, Delaney. Yeah, and so that's our updates on those fronts. We'd love to hear if you've got any questions on either one, kind of from any angle that suits you. We've got a couple questions in the Q&A now, and so we'll just work through those. But again, if you've got any other questions, feel free to raise your hand or type them into the Q&A chat. So the first one, and Delaney answered in the chat, but just to bring it up again, is there a schedule available for the Trash Lab trailer? Delaney, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. Actually, Wyeth, do you want to go to our website and can potentially narrate a navigation around that. So yes, on our website, Wyeth goes to the Trash Lab page. So this is our landing page for all things Trash Lab. On here, you'll see the contact for, I think it's under contact, if you scroll down to the bottom tab. For our educational programs coordinator, Hannah, who I believe is also on this call. So her contact information is on here. And then if you scroll up, there should be a link to the events calendar, or that actually might be in the bottom. So, yeah, okay, so on our calendar, if you go to the Trash Lab landing page, it links to this calendar. This is all of our upcoming events, and I believe it also has a history of past events if you're curious. So those are all our upcoming public events. And then if you go back, there's also information on this page for if you are a private group, such as a school, a children's museum, something of that nature. If you would like to request a private event, that is also doable, and it'll get you to this form essentially, where you input all of your information that we need to know in terms of scheduling an event, parking situations, head count, things like that. So just logistics for scheduling, and that will pretty much directly get all that information to us as the event coordinators, and then we'll work with you on next steps.
Great. Switch my screen back. All right, the next question, and I'm going to pass this one to Alex, is there any project working for solid residue from, from biogas plants?
Yes, I can answer that as well. Biodigester digestate projects involving that waste material are welcome to apply through the RFIs. There are some sources potentially available within the county for biodigester digestate. I know there are also newer facilities coming online within the region or across Wisconsin, and that is definitely a potential for consideration within the RFIs that Wyeth has open right now. So there's a lot of land application being done with that material, but if there's a business case for better use and we can help facilitate that with the dedication on the sustainability campus, Dane County is definitely willing to consider that.
Yeah, and I can just show you around a little bit to what the RFIs will look like if you're interested in responding to them. This, similarly to the outreach point, is located on our website. So you'll navigate to the Sustainability Campus page. We've got kind of an overview of what's going on with the RFIs, and then there's links to each of these different RFIs. We had a series of Zoom webinars this week. The recording for each of the different RFIs will be posted to their respective pages. You can get to their OpenGov pages by clicking any of these. And so this is more or less what it'll look like on your end. It'll have a lot of the same information that I walked through today. So that timeline, if you're interested in taking that site tour, there's an option to RSVP right here with this drop down. And then the, let's see, project documents, the questionnaire is located on here as well. So these are how you will respond to the RFI. And then there's that supplemental document upload if you want to include more information there. So that's kind of what it'll look like on your end. There's 4 different ones. If you've got questions about which one might be the best fit for you, feel free to reach out. My contact is listed on here. You can either email me, call me, find me on our website as well. Happy to answer any questions if any come up after today. So that's what you can expect looking at on there. Yeah, we certainly welcome any responses related to digestate or anything else that comes up today.
All right, I can take this next purple cow one.
All right, yeah, so the next one is, might have missed it, but how much waste is predicted to be diverted from landfill to Purple Cow Organics facility?
Yes, so for food waste specifically, within, I guess, on an annual basis for the first few years as we're starting out the program, we're looking to do minimum 600 tons of food waste. And then towards the leaf waste, brush, and log end of our contract with Purple Cow, we're looking to do around 20,000 tons of those materials per year. And then additional small tonnages related to manure just from county facilities as well. So those are more directly related to what Purple Cow's capacity is as a single site, as a composter. Into the future, if we have, I guess, Arthur, Alex, do you remember the annual tonnage of Rotafeld amount per year?
Currently at Rotafeld, we take over 300,000 tons a year.
Yeah, so if we have over 300,000 tons of landfill materials at large a year, about a third of that we're estimating is organic material. So as we get the sustainability campus on board and potentially integrate other organic recycling programs, we're looking to, if at all possible, divert as much of that third of 300,000 tons. So that's, you know, pie in the sky, what our big picture goal is, and we're just inching towards that. Yeah.
Great. We got another question on the RFIs. The question is there any potential for the county facilitating collaborations among RFI applicants if projects are similar in scope, material type, or intentions? And so I'll take a first pass at this, and Alex, I hope you can build on this. So I don't know if it's kind of within the county scope to to facilitate those collaborations, but we're certainly open to hearing them. One potential avenue is bringing a collaborative project that you are aware of on your own, or you can look through the follower list on each of the RFI pages if there's entities that you might have overlap with and reach out that way. We've received many collaborative proposals for RFPs in the past, so this is something we're certainly used to. But Alex, feel free to build on that.
No, I wouldn't add too much more. The county has a history of encouraging collaborative efforts. We're well aware that due to the complex nature of working with waste and these specific materials, sometimes we need the expertise of multiple organizations. And so similar to our RFPs with these RFIs, if there's a joint venture proposed, we will definitely consider that too. And there can be strength for that, absolutely. So any joint proposals are welcome in the RFI process.
And in terms of us facilitating a collaboration?
Because of that, we sometimes what we will do if we have proposals that we, especially because this is an RFI, we're not going straight into RFP. We might facilitate that conversation based on the best business case scenario, and retain the right to typically in RFPs, we retain the right to award best fit for each category of work if we have multiple categories of work. So similar to this in the RFI, if we find that there are businesses that are proposed that are very similar or very complementary of each other and potential to create a stronger case, we may ask them to collaborate and propose. But that is the nice thing about the way that this is currently being rolled out is we're going from RFIs, so we're really getting a lay of the land now, which then, as Wyatt mentioned, sets the precedent for our RFPs. And so going into that kind of reopens that opportunity for collaboration based on those responses.
Great, thanks. We got one question on, is the waste characterization and diversion report available on the website or can be requested? It's a great question. So it's, I don't believe it's currently on the website. So
the easiest way to get that actually is on the DNR's website. So this is a DNR funded study. So they have that available. It's titled the 2020-2021 Waste Characterization Study. And they have it available for both download and of the executive summary and the complete report. So that is definitely available there. And then if it's not available through the RFI, that can always be requested and posted too, if that makes things easier.
Yep, that's where I was going to go next. It is available on the RFI pages under the attachments category here. So you'll see a number of different things that have, like I said, informed where we got to this point and detail our waste streams. So like Alex mentioned, there's the statewide characterization study. We also have a waste diversion report, which was prepared just for our region specifically. So there's a lot of good detail around what's happening in our region, what are the opportunities that we might want to prioritize moving forward, and then some additional documents that are worth reviewing if you're interested in submitting a response. So again, those are located on the attachments tab of all 4 RFIs. And so that's a good way to access those as well. Okay.
That's all the open questions.
Okay, great. So that covers all of the, okay, we just got another one. The question is, can I have a transcript of everything that was said via email? Definitely. We've been recording this, so we'll have a transcript. Jesse, if you want to build on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been kind of copying over the links so that I can share those out as well. And then once we get a copy of the recording, I will email everyone that was registered with all of that information. So if there's anything additional, Wyatt or Alex or Delaney, that you see being useful in sending in that email, just shoot it over to me and I'll include that. And then I'll include the three of you as well so that they can follow up directly if they need to.
Great. Sounds good.
Yeah. I just wanted to take an opportunity. I know we have a few more minutes, and so if there's other questions out there, please feel free to, use this time to get your questions answered. But it just, pause and really celebrate this project at a high level, right? Like, I think I don't see a lot of other counties, government sort of doing this level of innovation and creativity. I think the sustainability campus, the way that you're working, it just illustrates how successful like public partnerships can really be when we come together. And so I think that's really a critical part of this, why WSBC really wanted to host and share this information out. I'm just like thinking of all the other partners in my head that I know that, I'd love to follow up and send this to. So it was great information for me. I learned a ton. I think just wanted to, say that and voice it and just say, I think the work that you all are doing is really, really amazing. So thanks for that. I did have two questions that I'll just ask if that's okay. And one is for Delaney about, you had mentioned like, I think a food waste study, and I was curious to learn a little bit more about that, or some for study of the kind on compost, was it, or something like that. So I just kind of missed some context there if there was anything more you could add to that. And then the other was for just Alex and how the RFPs on the solar side was coming, if you had an update on that.
All right, I'll take my question first, if that makes sense. So yes, there was, I think, two pieces to that, now that I was thinking through what your question was. So both in working with our commercial customers, for folks that we're hauling with, we're able to do a bit more personalized of waste audits, as in we are picking up your carts, we are telling how much the volume is, what the tonnage is, converted into that, what your contamination rates might be, or obviously if there is contamination, working with you on that. And then for folks who we're directly hauling with, able to consult on additional, more higher level prevention as needed and as interested. But I think what the larger one that you're getting to is we're actually, the Dane County Food Collective has funding and is conducting in partnership with the county at large, so not necessarily just our department, but they're doing a county-wide food plan, and it's the first food plan that has ever been done for the county. Within that plan, there's a few different sections, and the last one, I guess more in terms of food systems wide, is the waste section. So they, previous to our partnership with them, had not really any partnerships or entities working on providing any sort of information for the waste section. So we're partnering with them to help inform that food plan. Anyone who is interested in engaging in that kind of prior work, the writing is all happening next fall. So this kind of year that we're testing out some of our new program information and outreach and execution will also be used for commercial groups not directly interested. It will be anonymized as needed, obviously, for participation, but we are working to help inform them on, broader infrastructure needs, additional material feedstocks that we don't currently have outlets for. So kind of broader engagement on that. And they are a food group specifically and have a lot of more food service and farm members as well. And so part of what that engagement will look like is I am personally leading a food service sustainability committee with them. So to kind of help work on some of those engagement and outreach components with partnerships with food recovery, with other composters, helping research policy initiatives that we would like to help promote as well. So kind of doing a bit of that broader network engagement outside of what you get from a more direct compost service providers, that we're working countywide really to really make sure that we have broader organics recycling infrastructure, and we'll engage as much as needed to make sure that we can secure that for the future. So that's kind of what that broader research plan was. At first, I thought you meant on the food waste audit, and that is a bit more personalized to each business, but this is a broader plan that we're
Yeah. Well, both are really exciting because I know, we help businesses track and measure their waste streams, right? And it's so frustrating because waste is a really hard thing to measure. So having accurate measurements goes a really long way in the, data accuracy that companies are working toward. So that's great. And I love to just hear that holistic approach, right? With looking at the food system as a whole and working like again across sectors to kind of build a infrastructure that just will work long term for the county and the businesses. So that's really great to hear.
Well, yeah,
Thanks.
great to hear of your work towards that end too, of helping
Mhm.
businesses calculate or measure and reduce their waste as well.
Mhm.
I guess to your question.
Yeah, and I can getting towards the end of the hour, so I can keep this relatively brief. But thank you for asking about it, Jesse. So we also do at Dane County have a open RFP for development of a solar array on our closed landfill in Verona, Wisconsin. So it's like two categories scope of work, where the category one is focused on the waste infrastructure and updating some of our gas collection infrastructure and making sure that the site is really buttoned up for long term. As we go into then category two of that work, which is the installation of a commercially sized solar array. And so we are in the middle of that. That is open until February 18th. So if there are interested parties, we did have a site tour this week. I will be posting the minutes and the agenda for that yet probably either today or tomorrow. And then if there are questions, the Q&A on that is open until the end of next week. So folks can post questions there, and we can welcome any participants to apply for that scope of work as well. So because I mentioned that it's a two category scope of work for that RFP, people are welcome to apply for category one, category two, or both. And again, there's an open Q&A there, so folks have questions about it. I did just put the link to it in the chat too.
Great, I'll include that in the follow-up material.
Great. Yeah, we've got a lot going on over here,
Mhm.
and really appreciate Sustainable Business Council giving us a platform to share about it. If you're interested in any of these different things, definitely reach out to us, follow up through Jesse, and feel free to share them more broadly as well. We really welcome that. I'll also make a plug for our tours and the trash lab. Like we pointed out, the trash lab request is available on the site. We also do a great tour of our site where you can see these facilities, ask more questions, and kind of see the operations close up. It's really worth seeing if you haven't ever been to the top of an active landfill. So there's a request form for that on our site as well.
Yeah, I'll also mention further on that tour point. So I kind of touched on the differences between the trash lab, but we do also do a public tour in more months on a monthly basis. We don't quite do it as frequently right now, but we also do offer a private tour option as well. And so that will also have similarly structured to the trash lab webpage. We have a tour webpage. You can find all that information there as well.
Great. I think we're out of questions in the chat. Jesse, I'll pass it over to you to.
Great. Yeah. Well, that was a productive use of the hour. I think you, just presented all the information really clearly and visually appealing as a recovering designer. So I appreciate that as well. It's a lot of information to digest, and it's exciting again to hear and see all these great projects going on. So I hope it's successful. I know we'll help get the word out to just bring partners to the table. And I encourage folks to do the same if they have any ideas, or to, share it with folks in their networks that might also, be open to some ideas. So thanks so much for this partnership and for sharing the information today. And I look forward to maybe an update in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jesse, and thanks to everyone for joining. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all. Take care.
All right, take care. Have a good day.